Hi everyone! Welcome to another Forestry Friday. I'm Ranger Bekah at Flathead Lake State Park Wayfarers. Along the roadside here, we have these beautiful looking flowers, but it's actually a weed. This cute daisy-like flower is actually called an Oxide Daisy, and this is a noxious weed in the state of Montana. So, if that pretty little plant is considered a noxious weed, what exactly is a weed? So a weed is a plant that is not valued where it is growing and is usually a vigorous growth, especially one that tends to overgrow or choke out more desirable plants. So I use the term noxious. So what exactly is a noxious weed? So a noxious weed is specifically defined in the state of Montana as any exotic plant species established or that may be introduced in the state that may render land unfit for agriculture, forestry, wildlife, and other beneficial uses, or that may harm native plant communities. A noxious or invasive weed is any unwanted non-native plant with potential serious impacts to the extent that it has been declared by the state of Montana that landowners must enter an approved management program to keep it from spreading. So, if noxious weeds are so unwanted, how do they even get here? So, some invasive weeds can slip into different continents or regions naturally via wind, ocean currents, or other means, but it's uncommon. Most invasive species get some help from human activities. They are brought into the country and released intentionally, because they're pretty like the daisy, or they are moved and released as an unintentional byproduct of agriculture, commerce, tourism, or travel. Many species enter the U.S. each year in cargo, mail, and passenger baggage. Weeds continue to enter the country as seed contaminants in our crops as well. So all plants reproduce, some by seed, others vegetatively from plant parts. Most plants can reproduce from seed, which are formed by flowers when they're pollinated. The local spread of weeds along trails and roadsides is often caused by recreationists unknowingly, as seeds are caught in the tread of boots and tires and carried to new locations. So the spread of these weeds is not just due to boot tread or tire tread. Plants don't have the ability to walk, fly, or swim to new places like animals do, to escape danger, find food, or spread their offspring. However, they have evolved many rather amazing traits to protect themselves, grow, and reproduce. These weeds are competitive, meaning they are better at attaining the necessary resources to survive, like sunlight, nutrients, and water. They can outcompete many native plants, meaning the native plants die and the invasive plants survive. Successfully invading plants tend to have one or more of the following characteristics. They reproduce quickly by producing many seeds. They disperse their seeds far and fast by being airborne and adhering to clothing, like those burrs that get on your socks. Their seeds may remain viable for many years, meaning they are good for a long time. Their seeds have high germination rates, and as a plant, they just grow quickly. Also, they can spread vegetatively, that is, through their roots or pieces of the plant. They have deep roots. Plants like leafy spurge have roots that can reach lengths of 20 feet. They are not palatable to livestock and wildlife. They are not susceptible to local diseases, parasites, herbivores, or anything else. They can be allelopathic, which means they give off chemicals that inhibit the germination and growth of other plants around them. Spotted knapweed is an example of an allelopathic plant. It releases chemicals into the soil that kill the surrounding plants. These invasive plants sound really tough, but you can fight them. Fighting the spread of invasive weeds often involves the use of multiple weed control tactics as a part of an integrated weed management program. Herbicides can be effective, but are expensive and may harm other species. Mechanical removal of weeds by pulling, tilling, mowing, burning, and grazing can help reduce their spread, but usually will not eradicate the plant completely. Biological control agents, such as insects that feed on the plants, can be effective, but may take time to establish and have unintended consequences on other species. When weeds have been reduced, the chances of reinvasion can be minimized with desirable native plants that can compete with these invasive species. Go native plants! Now that you know a little more about these invasive weeds, what can you do to help? So there's lots of things you can do. You can learn to identify common weeds in your area. You can make sure that seeds are not stuck to your clothes or gear. You don't want to introduce or spread these plants to other areas. Do not camp in weed-infested areas. Wash mud and dirt off of your vehicle before going into public lands. Drive on established roads and hike on designated trails. And pass it on. Tell your friends and family about this problem so they can help too. Early detection and eradication of small infestations and prevention of new infestations provide the most cost-effective ways to manage weeds. We need your help locating and eradicating the spread of weed species in your area. Let's help native plants thrive and survive. This has been another Forestry Friday. Thank you for joining me.